Okay, let's talk about it. First of all, just so nobody gets mad at me, the title, How I Made Millions on YouTube, is How I Made Millions of Mistakes. Okay? I definitely didn't make millions of dollars on YouTube. That's not me. That might be Mr. Beast or Matty Hapoya or Marcus Brownlee or people like that, but that is definitely not me. I'm the guy who gets like anywhere from 60 to 500 views per video. I've gotten a couple of videos that have gotten to like 15 or 20,000 somehow. I have no idea how that happens, but I'm usually the guy who gets, if I get 100, I'm happy. And first of all, I just want to say that I'm not here complaining at all. I personally feel like I have a solid following of people here. Like when I get to 100, I feel like 100 people have shown up in the theater to see me do a reading or a performance or something. So if I'm in a 99-seat house, a small house, that's a full house. I'm grateful for that. That's like 100 solid people who come all the time. I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, I used to have a lot more, but I realized that YouTube is definitely all about reciprocity, or I shouldn't say all about reciprocity, but it's a lot about that. Like, people, they come and it's like transactional. If they watch you, they expect you to watch them. If they hit the like button or they subscribe to you, they expect you to do that for them. And I understand that. I just don't think that that's useful to me, in my opinion. And I don't really understand like the point of that. Like I don't really understand what that means other than you're increasing your numbers. And I guess everybody's trying to make money, so I guess maybe that's what it's for, unless you're just looking for, the endorphins that you get from people hitting the like button or leaving comments or whatever. But to me, I don't get that. I don't care. Like if you don't come to my videos, I ain't mad at you. Like I don't care. If you don't hit the like button, if you don't subscribe, I'm good with that. I only want you to do those things if that's something that you want to do. If you feel compelled to do that. Like I make YouTube videos because I enjoy making YouTube videos. I have fun. It's kind of a release for me. Like when I'm not doing my real actual work outside, making, either working on a play or making a feature film or doing a documentary or something like that, I like to come to YouTube and just do this, Or every once in a while, I'll make something a little bit more extravagant, and put together YouTube, like some B-roll and make a little story and make like a short film. I enjoy doing that sometimes, although I don't really have time to do that often, And I think that's part of the reason that my channel suffers. I think a lot of people come here and they're like, if they liked one video, but then I'm completely somewhere else in the next video, I think it confuses them and it's easy to be forgotten on YouTube. You know what I mean? There's so many opportunities to watch other people and go to other places. So, but again, I'm not mad at anybody. I've had some beautiful exchanges with people who've come and then gone and never come back, And I've had some really great kind of conversations with them. We've followed each other maybe for a few months or something like that. I've had people come here even once and leave a beautiful comment or, like that's cool. You know what I mean? That's just kind of part of the deal. But I will say this. There was a time where I was intent upon getting monetized, and then I thought I could make a decent amount of money here, like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000 a month. And then all of a sudden my expectations went down, and I started to think if I could even make like $1,000 or $500 a month, I'd be happy, But I have no idea how it works. You know what I mean? Like there was a time where I was getting paid every month. You have to make at least $100 to get paid on YouTube per month, like every 30 days. And I was able to do that for a while, but I was posting every single day, like every day. And I was doing it because I could, and I was doing some pretty involved videos, but also a lot of talking head videos. And I was just kind of talking off the top of my head. I was never scripting anything. I didn't use any special, YouTube software to cut out the ums and the you-knows and all that kind of stuff. I was just being organically me. I was doing what I'm doing right now. Just talking off the top of my head, just whatever comes to me, that's what I was sharing. And I feel like I'm pretty good at doing that because it's hard to get me to shut up sometimes, as much as, you know, most people who really know me know that I'm very quiet and kind of shy in a lot of ways. On the other hand, once I get started, it's hard to shut me up. So anyway, I wanted to share some of the mistakes I think I've made on YouTube to be successful in terms of the numbers and in terms of at least making a basic fundamental amount of money, like $100 a month, you know, or maybe a couple of $100 a month, you know, just from AdSense. And I do have affiliate links and stuff like that. Like, I've tried to do all the things. It doesn't, you know, like, I make money sometimes from people buying my photography prints at my website. I earn a living selling tickets to shows, my feature films, you know, licensing, things like that. Like, my income is more outside of YouTube, you know, and any kind of hustle I might have to do as well. Because, you know, like I often say to people, there are some months when I'm working as a performing artist and stuff like that where I'll make a lot of money and I don't have to do anything else for months or maybe even a year or maybe even a couple of years. But then there are times when perhaps I'm developing a new play or developing a film, writing a screenplay, something like that, where I got to figure out how to make money on the side. And that's what I was hoping YouTube would do for me. But anyway, let me share some of the mistakes that I think that I made. The first mistake was I didn't niche down. And I think the reason I didn't, you know, niche down is because it's contrary to my character. You know, like, I don't think like that. You know, I can't, it's like that breaks my brain, you know. I think I'm kind of on the spectrum in certain ways because even though sometimes I know something is the right thing to do or I know that there's a better way to go, I just don't do it if it's not like in me, you know, if it's not natural. Even though I know that would probably help me, I just don't do it because it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel organic. It kind of feels like I'm lying, you know, and I don't like to lie. So, and I'm not calling anybody a liar for niching down, but I'm just saying for me, I'm not really that person, you know. So it's been hard for me to do that, but I think that's a big mistake on YouTube because I think when people come here, they might expect something and they should get that every single time. You know, it's like if you go to your favorite TV show and if it's a, you know, like a crime drama, and all of a sudden you get there and they're talking about, you know, the NBA and the last basketball game, and you're going to be like, what's going on? If you're not an NBA fan, if you don't like basketball, if you don't like sports, you might never come back. So I get that. You know, sometimes people, they expect something, they come here one time and they're like, okay, I know what this is. I really enjoyed that video. And then they come back, and I even think people will give me more chances than just one chance. And so niching down, I think, is really important. The other thing is consistency. You know, when I was really intent, like challenging myself to get monetized after being on this platform for 4.5 years, and I still wasn't monetized, and I just didn't understand, I said, you know what? I'm going to post every single day. And I posted every day for almost like a year. And it got me monetized. It raised my numbers. Suddenly I had a couple of videos that went, you know, viral for me, you know. For Maddie Hapoya, it's nothing, you know, for people like that. But for me, I got like 14,000 views in like 3 days. And I don't even know what that video has now, you know, a year later or something like that, but it did really well. And the funny thing was, it was like complaining about monetization and all this kind of stuff. I think it was a video about how I got monetized on YouTube. But anyway, the minute I stopped posting every day, because I didn't have time, I was writing a screenplay. I had to finish. I was working on a documentary. I was getting paid. I had to finish that work. I did not have the headspace nor the physical time to be posting here every single day, because it's not just about making a video and uploading it. You know, you have to make the video, you have to fill out all the information, you have to do all your tags and your hashtags and try to get your, you know, a good thumbnail and a good title, and you have to think about, you know, keywords and things like that. You got to do your SEO, and I'm just not good at all that stuff, and so it takes a lot of effort for me to do it on any level. And, you know, I just didn't have the time, so I wasn't here every day. So I posted maybe once a month for a while, and oh my God, my numbers plummeted and have yet to recover still to this day. And now I still don't have time to do it every day, as much as it's fun and I enjoy it, I could easily do it every day if this was a full-time job. Like if you follow the channel like Camera Conspiracies, I'm pretty sure he's here every day. And he has fun, obviously. There's a lot of joy in his videos. But I can also tell that every once in a while, he's just trying to figure out, like, what can I talk about today? Like, it's hard to come up with something every single day that's different than anything else you do. But I think a lot of YouTubers who've niched down and post every day or post often, they kind of do the same thing over and over again. They do gear reviews, like how many camera reviews can you do? How many lens reviews? How many lighting reviews or tripods? I mean, basically, you know, I guess as long as camera companies keep coming out with stuff, you can have stuff to talk about. But in reality, they're kind of like the same thing. I mean, a 35mm lens is a 35mm lens. Like you could talk about, you know, one is faster than the other. One might have more lens elements, more glass or something like that. But I mean, let's face it, basically, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Tripods, like, come on. I mean, lights, cob lights, you know, panel lights, it's all the same over and over again. So anyway, I'm here twice a week now. I'm here Mondays and Thursdays, and I've kind of committed myself to do that because I want to get back to making some money every month. And also because I enjoy it. It's kind of a release for me. It's fun to do. And I don't care about niching down, so it's easy for me to come up with something different every time I'm here. Sometimes I talk about politics and social issues, which I know have lost me a lot of followers. But oftentimes I talk about art. You know, like I'd say 95% of the time, I'm talking about theater, performing, filmmaking, cameras, gear, anything related to performance, nutrition, rehearsing, memorization, script writing, stuff like that. Like that's what I talk about most of the time. And also the spirituality of my art, my creative practice, you know, what I do from day to day. I talk about that a lot too, but I don't talk about it every day, you know. I might talk about something that happened in the world. I might talk about the elections. I might talk about the Middle East. I might talk about Ukraine. Like, I might talk about racism. I might talk about gentrification. I might talk about anything, you know. I might talk about the weather. I mean, it could be anything. And that is a mistake. That's one of my millions of mistakes. I think the other thing is that I'm not always super conscious of how my visual thing is, like how it looks. Like I certainly don't think about how I look ever, you know, like I could shave or not shave. I'm wearing a sweatshirt that's torn today. You know, I have the lighting setup this is like a simple little lighting setup, but I don't really have a set. You know, a lot of YouTubers have, like they're really serious about it. So I almost feel like sometimes I'm disrespecting the craft because I don't have a setup, you know, like every time I do a YouTube video, I have to put the camera on the tripod. I have to compose the shot. I have to put on my lights. I got to figure it out. I got to check my ISO settings. I got to set my white balance. I have to do everything from scratch. I got to decide whether to use a lavalier mic or the Hollyland Lark mics, wireless or just a microphone, a shotgun on top of the camera. Like, it's different every single time. Sometimes I shoot during the day. Sometimes I shoot at night. I go to different locations. You know, like I often do that because I love to do that. Like I always have my camera gear with me wherever I go, every single day of my life. So if I'm on a train or if I'm in a car, I could get off at any moment if I see a cool spot and I'm going to be like, yo, that'd be a cool place to shoot a video. I mean, I'm always looking for locations for my films. So I don't know if that's good or bad. You know, like I'm all over the place. Like, but the thing is, like, I think that's okay if you're a vlogging channel, but I don't really vlog, you know. Although, you know, it's interesting, my first feature film, which became an award-winning film, I'm honored and humbled to say, I shot it on my phone, and there are scenes in there where I realized I was vlogging, and I didn't even know what vlogging was. So, but I'm not a vlogger. I don't vlog. I don't walk around carrying my camera. I don't go through the streets, you know, and carry, you know, take you with me on my life. I don't do that. I do sometimes take you to different locations, and I'll set up in different places and, you know, talk about something. And I might even have a purpose in doing that, or I might just think it's interesting to look at like that. It might be fun, you know? So I don't know if that's one of my mistakes, but I think it might be one of my mistakes, because when you look at Marcus Brownlee, for example, or Sarah Dietschy or somebody like that, they have a beautiful set, you know, like they have a set, something you can, you know, like rely upon, you know. Geeky Nerdy, you know, his channel, he's got, you know that it's going to look like a TV show. Mark Bennett, Gerald Undone, you know, these look like, they look like TV shows, you know. Camera Conspiracies, the same thing, even though he takes you out in the street all the time, but his street shots always look exactly the same. You know, his using of lines and things like that, it always looks the same. So I can't really think of anybody, you know, who's like highly successful. Like maybe Cam Mackey goes to all kinds of different places, and he's got obviously a very successful YouTube channel. And I'm sure there are plenty, you know. It's just that for me, I don't feel like I'm not well thought out with it. You know, I'm kind of spontaneous. I do whatever I'm in the mood for that day. And I think it's inconsistent, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a mistake. And the other thing is, and I guess this is the last thing I'll talk about with regards to this, is that I finally gained some momentum, you know? Like, I did it every day. I was getting paid. I was having these beautiful exchanges. I was having about somewhere between 400 and 1,000 views every single video. People were obviously watching the entire video. My retention rate was really high. My click-through rate was really high, and people were getting notifications about my videos. But then when I stopped, I have not been able to get it back. And I get comments all the time now of people saying to me, oh my God, I've gotten no notifications about your videos. Like, they don't see me in their feeds anymore. So it's like the algorithm just bumped me out. They were like, oh, he's gone. So I feel like I have to regain that somehow. And frankly, I'm probably never going to come back here every day again, because I'm getting busier and busier with my excuse me, my real work outside of YouTube. And so I don't know what to say about that. Like, but I do think that was a mistake. I think if you want to be successful on YouTube, if you want to make this like a full-time gig, if you want to be a YouTuber, then, you know, professionally, where you're going to earn a living and be able to take care of your bills and your family if you have one and stuff like that, then, you know, don't be one of those be careful what you ask for people. Like, work hard, gain the momentum, and once you get the momentum, take advantage of it and stay there and keep doing it, you know, and keep building upon that. Don't do like I do, like bust your ass to get to a certain point, be successful, and then just stop. And then think that, you know, like I thought, all right, I'm cool. Like now, every time I shoot a video, there's going to be, you know, 1,200 views because I got a video that had 1,200 or 12,000 views. But once I stopped, boom. I mean, I posted a video on Monday of this week, and it's a beautiful video. It's got incredibly beautiful footage. I mean, you know, it's not a great YouTube video, but it's got beautiful footage. It's got B-roll. It's in 3 different locations. It's got photography. It's got everything in it. Filmmaking, photography, and it just bombed. You know, like, I think I had like less than 50 views the first day. I don't know what it is by the time you're seeing this, but I was like, wow, that just bombed. I thought it was going to do great. But then I also realized it was talking about so many different things. And I actually changed the title like 3 times. And that's the kind of stuff I don't like to get caught up in. You know, I don't want to think about my title. I don't want to think about my thumbnail. I think those things are dumb. You know what I mean? But that's because, I don't know, maybe I don't deserve to be successful on YouTube because I think those things are dumb. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. You know, I'm using the Panasonic S5, although right now I'm shooting with the Panasonic GH5 just because the S5's got anamorphic lens on it and I didn't feel like changing it, and the GH5 is right here, so I just put it up on the tripod. But by the way, for those who care, I'm using a TT Artisan 17mm f1.4, which is a 35mm equivalent. So this is what it looks like. I don't know, like, you know, I thought I could just, like, I had arrived and now I could do whatever I want, and I'm going to continue to get the kind of, like, it's going to continue to grow. But I was very wrong about that. Like, that is not happening. You got to push it and push it. I think that's why I think this is why YouTubers are so stressed, and this is why it's a hard job. You know, it's not easy. Like, you have a lot of pressure. You have to do this all the time. You have to think about the numbers. You have to check out your metrics. You have to go into the studio app and really look at it. You have to really think about, you know, you have to create great thumbnails. You have to make great titles. You have to use Chat GPT or whatever. Like, you got to do all that stuff that I am like anti all of it. I hate AI. I don't use autofocus. You know, I'm not interested in, like, a lot of companies have reached out to me to do reviews and things like that. But then when I do a review and I'm honest, you know, they don't like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not interested in ever doing anything that I'm not really interested in. You know, you can't buy me. Although, you know, I got to admit, if somebody offered me like money, like I could buy a house money, or I could buy a car, or I can, you know, not have to work or think about money for 3 years kind of money, of course, I would do that. Anything short of completely, you know, like prostituting myself or, you know, like leaving my integrity behind, I would never do that. But if somebody asked me to review something that I'm not really interested in, but they're paying me a lot of money, I'll figure it out. You know, it'll be interesting to learn about it. You know, I can incorporate it. And maybe that's even an advantage on my channel because I have no niche. I can do whatever I want, you know. So I don't know, but I don't seek that kind of stuff out. I don't think like a YouTuber. That's another one of my failures. You know, that's one of my millions of mistakes. Like, somebody once said to me, you need to think of this as a business. And I have never, for even 1 second, thought of this as a business. I just don't think of it that way. I think of it as fun. I enjoy it. Even when I seem angry or kind of maybe depressed or something like that because of the state of the world, or I know I could be very serious most of the time because I am a fucking serious dude. Like, I'm very serious. I mean, I could be funny and I could be crazy. And people who really know me, they know I could be a fool. But, you know, really, I'll own the fact that I am a pretty serious guy. I am. And, but that doesn't mean that I'm not always having fun and that there's not incredible joy in my seriousness. Like, I have total joy and appreciation and gratitude for any opportunity that I have to do anything creative, ever. And to wake up in the morning and to work out and go run, and like my body still works. Like, I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for the challenges. You know, I have joy in the pain. I have joy in the obstacles, joy in the frustrations. You know, like, all of it is good to me. So I don't know, but I don't look at this as a business. It's just, I guess what I said at the beginning of the video, it's not natural for me. You know, it's not how I function. It's not how I think. It's not how I look at YouTube. I look at it as fun. So have I mentioned enough mistakes? Like, this is probably the YouTube video to watch of what not to do, how to not approach your YouTube life if you want to be successful. And the thing is, people have paid me to help them get their YouTube channels together because I know how it works. I know how to do it, and I can guide people to be successful here. But I'm also going to tell people, be honest with yourself, because if these steps are not something that you can commit to, and if it's not something that you want to like really immerse yourself inside of to be successful, it's just going to frustrate you. It's going to make you mad. It's going to make you sad, and then you're not going to be able to overcome that journey. You know, so I think it's all about commitment. And I think it's all about being honest about what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know what it is, and you have to study it. You have to study other YouTubers who are successful, and you have to make it your obsession. And I think then you could be really successful. None of those things, zero, are how I approach YouTube, you know. Like, I just, you know, somebody actually left me a comment one day and said, I noticed you don't curse much anymore, trying to like abide by the YouTube rules. And it's like, not really. It's like, I don't, you know, like I curse a lot, I guess, in my life. Although I don't curse as much as I used to, but I usually curse a lot if I'm working on a play. For example, I had a play that I did for 5 years called Brooklyn Quartet. And I created these 4 characters. They were kids from Brooklyn, from Bed-Stuy. And their language was like motherfucker this and motherfucker that, you know. And it's like, so that's the way I was kind of like in that headspace because I was performing 350 days a year for 5 years, doing that play. So my head was motherfucker this, motherfucker that all the time. So it kind of bled into my life. And I guess I'm kind of a method actor, you know, in a way. I mean, not fully, like I'm not, you know, weird, like I'm going to be the character I am even in my real life, but I am in that head. Like I worked on a film for a couple of years that was about suicide. And it was really, really challenging for me to live through that time. It was very dangerous for me, actually, and I was in that headspace, and you know, I had experienced a lot of people around me taking their own lives after COVID and during COVID, and I am somebody who struggles with depression pretty deeply. I have my whole life, and so that was hard for me, you know, and actually YouTube helped me a lot during that time because I was doing more kind of gear-oriented YouTube videos and things like that, but I was also doing a lot of storytelling, just, you know, regular, like the Moth style kind of stuff, which I don't really like the Moth, but I found that YouTube gave me kind of a release from the space that I was in dealing with suicide, you know, for 2.5 years working on that film. So, yeah. These are my, you know, how I made millions on YouTube, meaning millions of mistakes, you know, millions of errors, millions of miscalculations, millions of taking things for granted millions of times, you know what I mean? Like, you know, thinking, and the main, you know, the one main thing was thinking that I could get to a certain point and then take that for granted and just think that I've arrived and now I could just get back to my real life and YouTube will just be here for me like I thought I established something. But it doesn't work that way. You have to work at it every single day. You have to do this until you decide you retire. You know, and if you notice, your favorite YouTubers, they are consistent. They're there all the time. They're your favorites for a reason, you know. And the up-and-coming ones, you see them all the time because they're on their grind. But if you watch, like I'm in the camera space a lot, you know, so if you're watching people like Terry Warfield, you know, Potato Jet, Danny Gewurz, like Mark Bone, people like that. I mean, all of those guys are kind of more successful on the outside now, I think, so they're not there as often. But if you're looking at Mark Bennett or Camera Conspiracies, people like that, they're here pretty much all the time. You know, Geeky Nerdy, Micro for Nerds, people like that. DP Review, those guys, they're here all the time. All the time. Like, there's always going to be a new video. There are embargoes, things like that. I mean, it's not easy. It's not something that, you know, you can kind of sleep on. You got to bust your ass to be successful here. So follow my lead of, you know, how I made millions of mistakes and don't do what I do if you want to be successful. However, if you want to do things on the outside, if you're a filmmaker doing narrative films or documentary films, if you're a playwright, if you're a theater artist, if you're like I'm a solo theater artist, if you want to be out there doing solo theater, performing all by yourself on stage, and you want to be in that world, you have to bring the obsession to that stuff. Like when I work on a film, I ain't doing anything else until I finish that film. Like my life is committed to that. If I'm working on a play, like I'm very careful about the projects that I decide to endeavor upon because I know every time I work on a new play that I'm writing, it's going to take 5 or 6 years from my life. I'm going to start, I come up with an idea, I'm going to start writing, and 6 years from now will probably be my final performance. But in between, I'm going to perform all over the world, everywhere that I can, every day that I can. If I'm working on a film, it's going to be come up with the idea, write a screenplay, and then storyboard, shot list, and get it done. It's going to take more than a year. So, you know, anywhere from 8 months to 2.5, 3 years. If you're like me and you're doing it by yourself. And so, obviously, that requires a tremendous amount of dedication and commitment and desire and determination and obsession. And a willingness to get in there, you know, a vulnerability, you know, a kind of giving in and allowing yourself to be completely consumed with this work. And so that's what I recommend, you know, decide what you want to do, but I don't think you could do both. I think maybe you could be a YouTuber and a corporate photographer. You could do weddings or corporate work, but if you're a narrative person or a documentarian or stuff like that, I don't know how you can do it, unless you're famous, unless you're doing, really high level HBO, Netflix, movie theaters, that kind of work. Roger Deakins, if he had a YouTube channel, he'd probably be able to put up a video and have 50 million views with every video, But I think if you're Mark Bone, if you're Luke Forsythe, people who are successful making documentaries, you're going to have to hire people to run your channel. And I know that they do. They ain't doing it themselves. They got somebody else editing for them, somebody else probably shooting for them. Like they're not doing most of it themselves. I'm assuming even Cam Mackey, like people who have careers outside, they ain't doing this by themselves. So you have to have a certain amount of success and money to pay people to do this for you. So you got to figure it out. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I wanted to share that. Like, yeah, and I know the title was kind of, I don't know. A lot of people might think that was clickbait, but it's not clickbait. It's the truth. But that's why I said right at the beginning, I wanted to clarify what it was so people could just leave if they wanted to, because I ain't trying to like make you wait here for 2.5 hours and you're waiting like 10 minutes later, he still hasn't been talking about what the title was about. 20 minutes later, he still hasn't been talking about what the title's about. 40 minutes later, he still hasn't said one fucking word about what the title was about. Like, I ain't doing that, That's a YouTube thing. And personally, I think that's stupid. So, but stupid to me, not for you. So decide what you want to do and give it 100%, give it all of yourself. And I think no matter what the outcome, you've reached success, because when you commit to something and give your all to it, you're going to do your best. And when you do your best, that is an incredible amount of success. That's as high as you can get. And if you get paid for it, all the better. And if your goal is to make money on YouTube, you're going to get paid for it. You just have to commit to it. And you have to, do it for as long as it takes. You got to be in it to win it, period. So all I could say is please subscribe and please hit the like button, and please consider joining my Patreon. That would be awesome. It's been a while since I got a new Patreon member, so I'm hoping after this video I get at least one new Patreon member. And please consider checking out my GoFundMe for my new film called The Red Plaid Suitcase. The Red Plaid Suitcase. Trying to raise money. Trying to raise $30,000, which anybody in the film business knows that is like, why are you even raising that? You're not going to be able to do anything. But for me, I'll be able to do everything that I need to do to get this film done, to pay my collaborators, to do all the things that I need to do. So I'll put a link in the description for that. And yeah, thanks for listening to all of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, using the GH5. I usually use the Panasonic S5, the original. I think I'm getting an S1H for this new film, although I'm not sure about that because, I don't know, the S5, the original, gives me like the most beautiful look. It gives me exactly what I want. And I'm shooting the film with these Siri anamorphic APS-C lenses, the 1.33 lenses, and they're incredibly beautiful on the S5. And so I don't know if I'm going to get an S1H. I was going to get it because I want to shoot 24 FPS so I can make a what do you call it? A thing that you need to make to be in a movie theater. I can't believe I'm blanking out on that right now, but a DCP. And a DCP at 23.976 is a little bit more complicated, although I found out recently it's not complicated. So what am I talking about? I probably won't get an S1H, and now I'm talking in circles. So I am going to end this video. See what happens when you talk too long, you start to get tongue-tied. I'm going to end this video using my Zoom H1N and a lavalier mic, a Purple Panda. I'm going to end this video right now.